Hi there, my name's Rob Dando and I'm Managing Director at Finally Agency. I'm also co-founder of another agency called Better Webs. I am the treasurer of Charlton Village Hall. I'm a husband and a father to two amazing children, and I'm a pretty average fantasy football player. So why did I become an entrepreneur? I've always tried to make my own money. From a really young age, I remember cutting grass, washing cars. I've had multiple paper rounds. I ran an illegal tuck shop at school, which whilst I was commended on my entrepreneurial spirit, I got shut down pretty quickly. I think I lasted about 2 weeks. But the tuck shop raised their prices and I realised that I could go to the wholesalers, buy some stock. I rented the lockers off my friends in the common room and I undercut the school tuck shop prices. So I thought it was a genius idea. The school, as I said, commended me on my entrepreneurial spirit, but asked me not to continue. But I've always been looking for the next big idea. Anything that I felt there was an opportunity to make money, I was really excited to do it. And it wasn't really even about making money. It was just about the kind of challenge, the excitement, the different processes that I was learning and how to negotiate with people, how to buy things, how to sell things. It taught me so many skills that I use today to run what is now a reasonably large business, employing over 30 people. So how did I get to where I got to today? Well, back in 1995, when probably most of you weren't even alive, I started building websites. They were so different to what you see today on the internet. There was no mobile phones. The internet was dial-up modems. It was really slow. You couldn't have big graphics. You couldn't have big animations. It was all about text and some basic images. So I mucked around learning how to code and building stuff for myself for fun. And then in 1996, I was actually given my very first commercial piece of work. The first website that I ever built that I was paid for was actually a motorcycle shop in Rotherham called Team Roberts. And it was really exciting, you know. There I am at kind of 14, 15 years old, getting paid to do something that I really enjoyed. And it really started me on that journey, and I've never really looked back. In 1996, I entered the Kent Young Entrepreneur of the Year competition, and through that I landed my first big client, and they are still a client today. The gentleman that judged the whole competition was so impressed at my age and where I got to, he invited me up to Rochester to his commercial insurance brokerage to sit round and pitch myself and my services when I was 16 to win his business. I was delighted when I got the call 2 days later to say that they were going to give me the opportunity. And as I said, 25 years later, we're still clients. They're still my client. We still look after them. And it's been an incredible journey and something that he's been proud to support me on from a distance. Then the next big super change for me was I was in my car with my mum going home. And I remember saying, "Mum, I think that I should open an internet cafe." She looked at me absolutely like I was deluded, saying, "You're at school, you have no money and you need to finish your education." And I remember the key words that she said was, if it was such a great idea, someone would do it. And for me, that was quite a negative thought, you know, like that's just not how ideas are born. I always believe that yes, people have great ideas, but also there are so many services that you have that are the same. It's about how you deliver that service, it's about how you market that service that sets you apart from your competitors. So I agreed I'd finish school. I got my exam results and my best friend who I was going to go travelling with actually was better than he thought. So he decided he was going to go to university. So it kind of left me with a bit of a gap. Did I want to go travelling by myself? I wasn't so sure. So I didn't really know what I was going to do. And as I was walking home, I popped into the internet cafe because that great idea, as my mum pointed out, had now been done. So I popped in and I introduced myself and said, "Look, hey, I build websites. Websites are obviously a growing industry right now, and do you sell those services?" To which they didn't. So I said, "Well, if you refer me, I can give you a kickback for every website that you refer to me. I'll build it and I'll give you a commission." But the gentleman said to me, "You know, what are you up to?" I said, "Well, funnily enough, I actually thought this was a great idea, an internet cafe. But obviously I have to finish school, which I've now done." So he offered me the chance to run it, and if it was something that really excited me, then I could make him an offer. I jumped at the chance. So I booked holiday. I remember I went out to the Middle East to see my dad for 2 weeks, and I came back really excited. And on that Monday, I walked into the internet cafe and I met a gentleman called Andrew, who has also been employed to run it. And then Charlie, who was the owner at the time, literally threw us the keys and said, "Right boys, here are the keys, have a go, let me know what you think." So there we are, kind of unbeknown to us, we've got an entire business at our hands. And it was just a bit mad, really, thinking back on it. But we did, and after about 3 weeks, I started to see the numbers and understood the opportunity. In my opinion, there was a huge opportunity to bring in some extra services like PC repairs, laptop repairs, mobile phone unlocking was quite a big thing back then. So I felt like there were further services that we could add. So 3 weeks after I'd started, I did make Charlie an offer to buy it, which he accepted. Went home, told my mum that I was going to buy the internet cafe, and she was like, "Well, how are you going to buy the internet cafe? You have no money." I was like, "Don't worry about that." So I walked up to the bank, Barclays Bank at the top of Canterbury High Street, sat down, I was 17, nearly 18, and I said, "Can I borrow £10,000? I'd like to buy a business." So strangely, they did lend me £10,000. Andrew got the same, but we were short. So I approached my grandfather. My grandfather's been my biggest advocate for my whole life. You know, he's been there to support me on this journey and taught me so many amazing things that I still hold today. And I said, "Grandad, would you like to buy 5% of my business for £5,000? Now, hugely overvalued, right? If any of you watch Dragon's Den, you're going to understand that that was literally a number I plucked out of the sky. I needed £5,000. I felt like 5% was a good number. My granddad obviously was my granddad, so he was doing it to help me. So he agreed. And we did the same with Andrew's mum. So now we've got 2 shareholders plus ourselves as directors. We've got £30,000, which was enough money to buy Charlie out and to completely refurb that internet cafe. But part of me knew that was never going to be my journey forever. And I think the big moment came when I was actually sat in the internet cafe and I just got the first iPhone, the first ever iPhone that did 3G. I can see this being a problem. Most of my customers were travellers, tourists, people that didn't have the internet at home, and that was going to change. The world was going to change. The internet was going to obviously become day-to-day in our lives. So I had to make another change, and that change was to really grow the web business. So I went back to my roots of website building. I grew that team to about 6 people. Through that journey, I joined BNI, which is a breakfast networking group. Loads of local business owners that used to meet at 5 o'clock every Thursday morning. And through that network, I was introduced to a guy called Steve Howard. And Steve became not only a great friend of mine, but also my co-founder of Finally. Initially, I started doing some white label work for him. He had a design agency, so they were really good at making things look pretty, but they had no technical knowledge and no skills to build websites. So we brought those skills in, took their designs and turned them into great websites. We started that, as I said, on a white label basis, and it went really well. But we kind of got on as mates and decided that maybe there was something in this. So after about 2 years, we had an opportunity to pitch for a very large pharmaceutical company. And we decided that we'd be quite transparent and we'd both go to the pitch so that we could showcase our skills independently. Steve would say him and his team are going to do the branding, the design, and myself and my team are going to bring all that technical knowledge, all of the SEO skills that we had, and together it was going to be the winning combination. Thankfully, they agreed. We won that job and we delivered that over 12 months. And through that, working together really closely, we realised that actually maybe this was just a good idea. Maybe we should just consider this for something to do. So in 2013, Steve closed his office down in the middle of nowhere in a posh barn, because that's what cool creative agencies did. And he moved his team up to Canterbury, to the office that I was in, and we shut down the internet cafe. So that had been running from 2002 to the end of 2012, beginning of 2013. We closed the doors to the public very sadly, and we went fully in on Finally. And Finally was born in November 2013, which makes us 10 years old in 2023. So really exciting. Very sadly, in 2021, after the COVID pandemic, which I'm sure you've all realised was nothing that any of us could have predicted, Steve sadly caught COVID and had a very sad stroke, which has left him with life-changing disabilities. So I had to make another decision, and that decision really was to offer his family and him to buy him out of Finally. So in 2022 I completed that transaction and I became sole owner of Finally Agency. I also decided to again look at some of our positioning within this agency and realised that we don't really do web development. So where I really began what I was passionate about from a 13-year-old kid, that journey for me has kind of come to an end. But in my business I had another Rob Harris, and he was the web developer that we've been working with for the past 8 years. He'd been looking and heading up that division for me within my team. And so I spoke to him and said, how about we set you up in your own agency? We'll fully support you, I'll mentor you, and I'll make an investment into that business. But you're going to go off and run that and going to try and grow that business. And we kind of almost start again from the web development point, because Finally is very much a marketing agency. So in 2022, Better Webs was also founded. As I said, in 2023, this year, we've grown yet again. We're now over 30 people in the business, working with global engineering and manufacturing companies. And we've also celebrated our 10-year anniversary, which has been a huge achievement. And it doesn't stop there. So 2024, finally, we're going to be celebrating our 10-year anniversary by going for a huge rebrand and repositioning ourselves as the go-to agency in engineering and marketing. So I hope you've enjoyed my story. It's been a bit of a whirlwind and I could talk to you about that in much more detail. But now I'm going to talk to you a little bit about some of the highs. So the biggest highs for me, I can remember vividly winning my first £10,000 job, which was a lot of money. I hadn't built sites for that sort of money. I'd done 5,000, 6,000, but psychologically 10,000 was just like a massive number. And I remember being at home, getting that call about 6 o'clock to say you'd won the job, and literally jumping up and down on my sofa. Obviously, as we've grown, the numbers change, and the kind of next psychological hurdle for me was winning my first £100,000 job. And again, I remember that moment so well. And I think when you go in any business journey, these sort of almost small mini goals that you set for yourself, they're something that you can really be proud when you achieve them. I obviously have other goals, like when we turned over 1 million for the first time, hopefully when I turn over 5 million, 10 million. These are all the sort of things that I set myself as kind of milestones to aim for and be able to celebrate when you do. I remember winning my first £3,000 a month retainer, which was huge. My retainers before that had been £1,000, £1,500, and myself and Steve, I remember sitting there with a blackboard and on the chalk just going, right, how are we going to transform this business? And we said, we're going to charge £3,000 a month as our minimum retainer. And I said, Steve, you're mad. Like, no one's going to pay that. That's a lot of money. Anyway, unbeknown to me, Steve had been negotiating, and he did land that first £3,000 retainer. And it was really, really exciting because that transformed our business yet again. That allowed us to go to a retained model where we grew that retained income, and therefore we could start to grow the team at quite a rate of knots. I love to help young people. I like to offer mentorship. I like to have people in for work experience, apprenticeships. I've been on a quite incredible journey. I've learned so much, and I'd love and do enjoy passing that back to people like yourselves to see if I can inspire some more people to go on and do what they're really passionate about. And obviously a massive part of what we do in the creative world is entering and winning awards. We've been lucky to win European awards, some global awards, but the more exciting ones is some peer-to-peer awards. I was very privileged to have been nominated by my team, unbeknown to me, for the Beamer 100, which I was lucky enough to win last year, or this year. And I've been very proud to represent that as one of the leading people in the country for our industry, recognised by peers, which is inspiring. Obviously with the highs come the lows, I'm not going to hide that. Some really sad times. Obviously when you've got people that you have to employ, you have to pay them. And sometimes I've had it where I literally looking at my bank thinking, how am I going to pay these people? I've had to borrow extra money from family, from friends. Obviously gone weeks and weeks and weeks without taking any money for myself just to get through. And that's really, really hard, and like genuinely I've been in tears in the building on my desk, thinking, what am I going to do, or is this the end of it? But thankfully there's always a way. You know, if you're determined enough to make something work, hopefully you can get through it. I think when you put your heart and soul into a pitch and you don't win, that's quite tough to take. When you know that you've done such an incredible piece of work and you have, you know, put your heart and soul in something, to not win, it is hard to take. When you're a leader of a company, you know, you feel like sometimes you've got nowhere to go, nowhere to turn. Those dark, low moments when you have got no money and you're crying at your desk, you can't really speak to your employees about that. I mean, some of them you can, but you know, fundamentally inside your own head, you feel like you've got no one to talk to, and that's a lonely place. And it does take some special times and special thinking to kind of get through those hard moments. Obviously the celebrations are amazing, but the low moments, you're generally by yourself. Probably shouldn't really share this point, but you know, there was a time when I was younger, and actually, I actually remember I hid under a desk. I hid under my desk in my office because I had a client who was not very happy with us, and he'd been ringing me and I'd been speaking to him, and I think it was final straw, he wanted to talk to me face to face, and I was just so nervous and did not know how to answer that I genuinely hid under my desk, and then I called him a couple of hours later. So, top 3 tips for success. If you're going to do this, focus on one thing at a time. I have been super distracted. As an entrepreneur, my brain firing all the time. I come up with so many ideas, from waterless hand car washers to folding maps in the Middle East to the internet cafe. And so you need to focus. The moment I really focused on this agency, we grew and we've done really well. Number 2, believe in yourself. If you don't have anyone else, truly believe in yourself. If you do that, I promise you can do anything that you set your mind to. Number 3, be willing to make a decision and stick to it. It's tough, as I said, when you've got no one else to really bounce an idea off, you have to trust yourself. And the key thing that I've learned about decision making is that is your primary role. As a business leader, as a business owner, your job is to make decisions. They might not be the right decision, and that is okay. I've made loads of mistakes. But what you've got to be able to do is make a decision and stick to it. Right or wrong, you'll find that out later. But don't and don't let people see that you're not willing to make a decision, because they're looking to you as the leader to make that decision. And a bonus tip, honesty of your team and your clients is going to always be the easier option. As I said, you don't need to hide under desks. You don't need to sort of hide anything. The more transparent you actually are, the far better your journey will be. So if this still sounds really exciting to you and you want to take that mad route and being an entrepreneur, which I highly recommend, how are you going to get started? So firstly, go and research your idea. Check that what competition's out there, where is the areas that you feel you can find a gap, or how can you improve something that a competitor's doing to offer a slight different variation on that. Start small. You know, there might be these social media influencers telling you can go and earn 7 figures overnight doing Amazon dropshipping. You can't, I promise you. Building a business is hard work, okay? And you need to start from the beginning and learn what you're up to, learn how to make mistakes. If you can, try and get some work experience. There are so many people out there that are willing to help people. Let them in the business, give them some opportunities to learn. And I would try and find somebody in your field or sector that can help you do that. When you got to a certain point, maybe try and find an angel investor or a mentor to offer you that guidance, to help you maybe not make the mistakes that they've already made. There'll be people like myself who've been through a journey and they've made mistakes, and they're more than happy to share those mistakes with you so that you don't make them yourself. Number 5, if you're not already, get on LinkedIn. LinkedIn is the go-to place now for B2B and for business owners. And if you want to grow your presence so that you've got contacts for the future, then get on LinkedIn, build a profile, start following people that seem exciting to you, people that are talking about what you're into, people that are talking about running a business. You're going to learn so much for free. And I wish I'd have had that sort of level of knowledge and access when I was young starting out, because something like that didn't exist for me. You know, there was no social media. Remember when I began, Facebook only started in 2007 and I started my business in 2002. I hope that you found that really useful. If you've got any questions, feel free to connect with me on LinkedIn. You're going to find me there each and every day. I'm happy to answer any questions, to have further conversations. Possibly then, if anyone's interested in agency life, maybe there's some work experience opportunities for you. So yeah, please come and find me and let me know what you thought.